What's up friends, Chook here, and welcome to my Bit Heroes free-to-play Beginner's Guide series. This video series is aimed at people who are interested in Bit Heroes, but aren't fully aware of what type of game it is, and for new players to the game who may be a little confused or unaware of some of the aspects and mechanics of the game. If you'd like to add me as a friend in Bit Heroes, please leave a comment with your in-game name and that you've sent me a friend's request. For example, I've sent you a friend's request, and my in-game name is Chicken Lover. Now that's all said and done, let's begin. In this video, we're going to go over some PvP tips, and it will also affect GVG. However, I can't show you GVG right now. Guild versus Guild is what GVG stands for, because it is not actually in this week's rotation. There's a talk and I have a feeling that it's going to be here next week. So when it does finally show its head, I'll do a video on that. And alternatively, there is also a mode called Invasion. Usually it's like Invasion 1 week and then GVG the next week. However, neither of them have been around for a while. So when GVG comes in and when Invasion comes in, I'll do a video for both. But the tips for this episode will be for PvP, which will also relate to GVG in a way. But again, I'll get onto GVG when it comes out. Okay, so PvP tips. This week you get a team of 5. It can be a team of 3, a team of 4, or a team of 5 each week. It changes, and for this week it is a team of 5. So what I like to do is I like to go with a tank in my first slot. So if you're new to the game, which again this is a beginner series, so I'm assuming that you are new, try and get your Shramps as early as you can. If not, put your Gramps or whatever the tankiest familiar you have in slot 1. So that's kind of self-explanatory, but remember when you're attacking, so if we click on him, this is his free move, right? Everybody has this free move that doesn't cost SP, that will just hit the closest enemy. So if you have him in slot 1, he will take the brunt of all of those free attacks, all those auto attacks, we'll call them. So you want your tank in slot 1. What I like to do is I like to have 4 for the rest of the slots, whether it be another 2 or 3 or 4, depending on what week it is, all with the ability to have that 1 SP target move, like the bow, crossbow, and sword has. So for me, for instance, I have Korgs, and we can see here that he has deals damage to target enemy here. He's a legendary, so he also has 20% dual strike, which is handy, but don't worry about that just yet. This is what we're looking for. So deal damage to target enemy. Then I have myself in the middle here. Skills with my gun deals damage to target enemy. So that's 2. Quirk is the third one. He's a rare fusion, so he has a stat up here as well, 30% crit chance. But here we go again, 1 SP deals damage to target enemy. And lastly, we have one of the world bosses that I've used recently. Deals damage to target enemy, 1 SP. So I would get a tank, and then I would fill the rest with that target 1 SP target damage, target enemy damage spell or ability, whatever you want to call it. Now the reason for that is, obviously it's a really strong ability and it's quite cheap, but when you're fighting in PvP or GVG, you are fighting yourself. Well, you're fighting with your team and everything in real time, and you can choose what abilities you want and everything, but the enemy you're up against is just playing as the computer, right? So they can't, the computer won't necessarily pinpoint your weakest minions and all the rest of it. It'll just do what it's programmed to do. Whereas if you have all of these 1 SP attack target damage dealing abilities, you can just use all 4 of them on your enemies, like, you know, weakest or strongest or whatever familiar you want to take out. You can focus on it 100%, whereas the enemy is controlled by the computer and will just attack whatever. So the more of the target specific enemy 1 SP move that you have, the better. So hopefully that made sense. Now obviously these minions, these familiars are all quite high level and high fusions and, you know, epic and legendaries and stuff. However, early on in the game you can get 3 familiars that have this ability. So the first one is a green, like a common familiar, so it should be quite easy to catch. As far as you know, it's not going to be as rare to come up for capture or persuasion or whatever it be. And all 3 of these familiars I'm about to say are in the first 2 zones. So you don't need to get to the 3rd zone to get these guys. They are all in the 2nd zone. But they are, the first one, which is the green common one, is called Archie. And he's like a green orc-looking dude with a bow. So I'll quickly show you, because I've got them here, no doubt. Archie, where would you be? There you are, Archie. So an orc with point-blank precision. It's a pretty scary concept. So this is him, and you can see here that he has deals damage to target enemy. It's a 2 SP, but it's still the same ability. So if you don't have any familiars with this spell, this is still better than nothing, even though it costs 2. The next one is McGobblestein, which is in the first dungeon of Zone 2. And him and the next one are both blues, so they're both rares, and here it is. And you can see he also has the deals damage to target enemy for 2 points. Again, it's not as good as 1 point, but the fact that you can target whatever enemy you want is really strong. And then the third one is Shaman, of which I have 28, purely because I just try and persuade every single familiar that comes up, no matter what it is, so that I have some in stock if I ever need to do a fusion with any of them. So I've got 28 of this dude. But here we go. 1 SP deals damage to target enemy. So this is the one you want, really. If you can get multiple Shamans, brilliant. So say you have a tank, say you have your Shramps, at this week we're talking about, you have your Shramps and you have you, and then say you had 3 Shamans, you'd be in a really good spot this week early on in the game. You'd be really, really, really strong. And then obviously you could catch more and stable them, but that's kind of a waste. Early game, you're not going to get that many stats for stabling them. So yeah, I would recommend getting the Shaman over the other 2, purely because it's a 1 SP skill. But you know, you got to work with what you can get. He is in Zone 2, Dungeon 3 as well. So both him and Archie are in the same dungeon. So if you can get to Zone 2, Dungeon 3, you have 2 of the enemies in there have that ability. So definitely try and get them. So the tip with the PvP is what I just said, all talking about the 1 SP target enemy move. But another tip is this. If we go to my info and we see my total stats are sitting at 2087, I've actually got quite a few upgrades from last episode, I should say. I've got some epics here from the Raid 5, and I also got a legendary, which I've upgraded a few times as well. And I kind of look like Ghost Rider, which is cool, I guess. But if we go to my total stats again, we can see that I am 2087. Now, if I go to PvP, I will be fighting people around the same total score as I am, and they'll be, you know, anywhere from level probably 200 to 250 or something. If I take off 1 or 2 pieces of gear, it will lower my total stats, in which case it will pit me against a weaker enemy. And this is the thing that I was relating to GVG. So when GVG comes out, I'll show that as well. But if you take gear off in GVG, you'll also be put against a lower total scored guild, if that makes sense. So let's take off this, and let's take off this, for instance. So we've gone from 2070 or something total score, total stats, sorry, to 1,500. So we're level 236 here. If we go to PvP and we go 5 tokens, that's fine. Let's have a look at who we're up against. This guy's level 130. This dude's level 140. And this guy is 138. So then what you would do is you would go through each of the people and you would have a look at their, you know, gear. Okay, this guy's got, you know, a legendary sword, and he's got a rare accessory and an epic pet here. This love boy is a guild. You can buy it from the guild shop with your guild honor, but it's 40% chance to prevent death. So it's like, okay, this guy might be a little bit annoying. Let's check the next guy. This guy has a legendary accessory, so let's avoid him. And then the last guy has a rare accessory and a rare pet, but he has the mythic gun. So you make your mind up of who you want to fight, and I'm just going to go with the first guy, just because why not? And then we go fight. So I've gone from being practically level 240 with over 2,000 gear score to fighting someone that's like a level 140 or whatever it was. And granted, I'm not as strong as what I used to be, but I'm a higher level than this guy by quite a bit. So the chances of me having better familiars and being stronger than him is quite high. So this doesn't always work, and you can lose doing this, but it's a pretty good technique. So we've got our 4 people that can do the one target thing. And looking at his setup here, I know that this here, this familiar here is called Velk, and he's a healer. So I want to get him down first. So that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to hit 1 until we get some SP with everybody. And here we go. So we've got Prismatic Strike here with Korg's target ability. Hit Velk. There we go. He's got the dual strike, so this thing's already almost dead. Now, my tank at the front here has an Enrage ability. I briefly went into Enrage in the stats video, but basically if you take damage, your next turn, you can use that damage to add it on to your next attack. So basically, instead of just auto-attacking this front guy here, I can auto-attack him for an extra bunch of damage as well. So we'll do that. If you don't use it, you waste it. So you always use it if you have it. Next, target ability. Again, hit the healer. Again, hit the healer. Okay, so now it's 5v4. He has no healer. And this guy, the tank's almost dead as well from the auto attacks. So we'll do another auto attack. And another one. And another one. Okay, here's our turn. Our player turn. So we can use our move to target who we want. I'm going to target him, the actual player. Do some damage to him. Same thing. Target on the player specifically, or on the one target specifically. And as you play, you'll get to learn, which familiars are dangerous, which ones aren't that bad, which ones you can, focus on and leave behind and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I can't really teach you that because there's just too many. But if you know that there's a healer there, my recommendation would be to go for the healer first. Right, and now there's 2 left. You could even put it on auto if you wanted to. But we don't really need to do this anymore because it's only this is in the first slot, so you may as well hit for free and build up a SP, and I'm just going to put auto for the rest of it. And easy victory. So we have 3 more tokens left. Let's do that one more time just to showcase. We'll go play. And then because we didn't do 5 tokens, we have more people to choose from, but we don't get as good of rewards. So let's go through them again. This guy has a rare accessory, but a epic pet. We're just looking for the easiest pick we can. So I mainly look at the accessory and the pet as the first things. If we can find someone with two rares or less, that would be ideal. Okay, we can't. We'll definitely leave this guy alone because he's got a legendary and a rare here. And an epic, sorry. So we might just go for this first guy, I think. And he's level 187. Maybe we can find someone a little bit easier. We'll do this guy, level 141. Papa Schwartz. And again, let's go. So we'll turn off auto. Okay, so he's got that Shaman familiar I was talking about. The one that has the target for 1 SP. That's this guy. This guy's a really tanky dude, so we can just leave him till last. He's got a sword, so he can do damage to all of us or pinpoint one of us with his 1 SP move as well. And I don't actually even know what the hell this thing does. So, first thing we'll get rid of is probably the Shaman. Oops, I forgot to enrage there. That was my bad. So we'll try and get rid of the Shaman. And 1 more attack should do it. There he goes. Now we'll try and get rid of the actual player. And then from here we can leave this guy because he's the tank. We can go for one of these 2. I have a feeling this guy might be tanky just from the way he looks. So we'll go for this blue dog looking thing. And we're done. So this time we didn't even lose one of our teammates. So you can see how strong this strategy is. If you go up against people without taking any gear off, you'll be up against people your level, and then depending if they're pay to win or luckier than you or something, they may have better stats of gear or familiars or whatever. Whereas if you take off some gear, you're guaranteed to be against lower level people, and you've probably got the edge on them. So that's a tip to make PvP a little bit easier if you're struggling. The one other tip I would say for PvP is if you have an ability So if we go, let's just equip this sword for the moment and go to skills. We can see here that you got your auto attack, and then this deals damage to the closest 3 enemies. This sounds like a really good idea, and it can be in the right circumstances. However, if you're going to use this, don't use it if the enemy player is in those 3 enemies. Because what will happen is this does less damage. So you can see here that it caps out at 800 damage-ish. This caps out at 1300. So this does way more damage, but to 1 target, whereas this does like damage to 3 targets. The reason I'm saying don't do it if the enemy player is in those 3 targets is that you will do like less damage, and if they have damage mitigation and everything, even less, but it may proc their pet, right? So you might hit them, not really do that much damage to them, but it might proc his 22% chance to shield their team. And so instead of doing damage, all you've done is helped him shield 3 of his, helped him shield his team rather than doing damage to 3 people. So just be cautious with any of the moves that attack multiple people. So for me, I've got this one, deals this much damage compared to this. You can see it's fuck all really, to a random enemy and 4 additional enemies. So if I did this, it would hit everybody. So I wouldn't use this particular spell or this ability or whatever until the player is dead. Once he's dead, you can do this because there's no more pets to proc. In GVG, because your guild is playing against another guild, I would never use them ever, because every single person you're fighting is a player. So in general, don't use any of these AoE abilities if there's a player that you're going to hit. If there's no player, go for it. And that is my PvP tips. Hopefully that was useful. If you're having trouble with PvP, definitely try it out and let me know in the comments if that has helped you. But for now, that is it. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.